G'day folks, Wren here, and today I've got a vlog for you. I only realised when I was going to edit this vlog that I didn't film an intro or an outro. I just started talking about books. So, the theme of this week's vlog, what is the theme? So the theme involves my reading journal. So if you saw my reading journal flip through, I will link it down below if you want to look at the full journal. But I did have my 12 of the year spread. 12 books that I just wanted to read this year. And I have been doing this myself for years now, just having 12 books that I specifically want to read in that year. I have not gotten all 12 ever. So to like kickstart this 2023 12 book goal, I decided to do a vlog specifically trying to read these 4 books. Now all of these are on my 12 of the year list, and these ones are just the ones I'm most desperate to read right now. I want to read all the books that are on that list, but these ones are like, right this minute, I want to read it. First one that I want to read is Bitter by Akwaeke Emezi. I specifically want to read this in February because it's Blackathon, which I really love Blackathon. It's a great readathon, and I'm hoping this can fit one of the prompts. I think it could possibly fit the yellow on a cover, because there is gold everywhere. It's all nice and shiny. I have been really keen to read this ever since I read Pet in 2022. It was amazing. Bitter is the kind of like a prequel to Pet, and it's really just about this, in this one, it's about this young girl who can paint monsters and bring them to life to help defeat the real monsters in the world, which are humans. And in Pet, we're following Bitter's child, but now we've got Bitter as a younger person. So I'm really interested to see more into maybe how this power came to be, because we don't get much explanation in Pet. So I'm a person that loves details, so if I can get some details on this, that would be great. And this was also a gift from Sasha. So thank you so much, Sasha, for gifting this to me. I'm very much looking forward to it. And then the next one that I've just been so keen to read ever since I got it is Spin Me Right Round by David Valdez. This is kind of a Back to the Future retelling-ish, but queer. Like, that's all I know, and that's all I want to know. Like, that sounds amazing enough. Then the other one I want to read is Juliet Takes a Breath by Gabby Rivera. I have wanted to read this for years, and I couldn't ever get it through my library or through any of the other reading apps that I have. So I ended up just buying it because I really wanted to read it. And then it's only in the past like month or two that I have found an audiobook for this, and I'm like, So hopefully I love it enough that I will keep this edition. I honestly don't know anything about this. I just know that it's Latinx and sapphic. That's all I kind of need to know. I have like a love of Latinx stories. Yeah, and it seems to be like Juliet coming out to her family and their reaction to that. So I'm really interested in this. So hopefully I can get to this. And then the other one that I want to read is Trans Wizard Harriet Porber and the Bad Boy Parasaurolophus and a Dinosaur. I cannot say that name. By Chuck Tingle. This is a parody book, really, and it's everything that a certain wizarding world could have been. In a way, I don't want to say it, but you get it, right? Like, it's pretty obvious. This just looks like a hilarious time, and I wanted to read it ever since I saw Kathy Trithart Really sorry, Kathy, if I have mucked up your last name again, but I will link the vlog that she did reading this. Like, she went through every single chapter and got through it, and I was just like, I kind of want to read it. This is the plan for most of February. Let's see if I can actually do it.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down, they wanna rise up while you drown.
Okay, I'm like 26 pages into this. So it's fun. I am tabbing a lot. It's just, it is, like, it's wild and weird, but it's really, really fun. And I just love some of the call outs that are made in here. Like, there's a sheriff in town that is a unicorn, and he's like, well, as long as you're not here to drink my blood, you'll fit in just fine. I'm like, that was funny. Oh, and something else it's doing is like, yes, Chopper, is it's talking a lot about, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just that whole, like, meta thing. So the dinosaur, he's like being a total arsehole. And he's like, oh, it's a trope in romance. The more of an arsehole I am in this part of the book, the better the payoff when you change me later on. And she was like, what the hell are you talking about? And he's just talking about, like, how it's a fiction. And I'm just like, it's funny, but it's a weird and wild time. The writing is not great. I've found a couple punctuation issues, some spelling mistakes, but that's fine. And I think if this didn't have the premise of, like, ripping off that other thing, then it wouldn't be as entertaining, especially because it's, like, making fun of that book series and, you know, putting a trans main character front and center and just, like, very blatantly making fun of it. That's what is keeping me reading. We've got this motorcycle with a head is called Dellatrix. This dinosaur guy is called Snabe. She's obviously Harriet Porber. We've also got Minerva and Braco, and there was a Magrid. So you can see what's happening here. It's making it very obvious, you know, what this is a parody of. And there was a moment in here, yeah, that just, it made me think of what that particular author is doing and how she's harming people. This just made me think of that. It says, you're in my garden, Minerva. You're trampling all of the little flowers as they try to poke their heads out of the dirt. They're so small and pretty, and you're just stomping through with your big boots, not even looking. Like, that just made me think of, like, trans people being the little flowers just trying to bloom, and this author of a beloved series just trampling all over them and, like, not caring. So there was that. Okay, I've gotten about halfway through this, and our two main characters just had a sex scene. And weirdly enough, their sex scene made me realise kind of why I hated Manhunt so much. So we have our main trans character, Harriet, but then Snape is also trans, so I didn't know that. I don't know how like in depth I want to get with this, but in their sex scene, so a sex scene between two trans people, and they did have a quick conversation about body parts and what terminology should be used for those body parts. You know, the correct terminology that was in line with their gender. And I was like, yes, that's awesome. That is amazing. And I realized that that didn't happen in Manhunt, and that's why I was so uncomfortable with Manhunt, because the way the characters would talk about their body parts, it would be not always in line with their gender, and that made me really uncomfortable. Like, as a trans non-binary person, it was so painful to read about, and like I cannot properly describe the discomfort and the pain of that. Like, I'm sure many trans people will understand those feelings, but it's really not something I can verbalize. I think that was definitely one of my main issues with Manhunt, and like I never would have realized it if it wasn't for this book. Like, this random book, and it's like giving me feelings. I will say there are some more spelling mistakes and punctuation mistakes and incorrect grammar, and there was even just like whole words missing at some points. So it's definitely rough, but again, I'm having a good time with this, which I did not expect to actually like this. And like, I don't know what that says. I just thought it would, like, I guess I thought it would be funny. I also thought it would just be bad. And like, yeah, there are some bad parts to it, but it's fun. I'm very entertained, and like, I'm having a great time. Like, I've read half of this in a day, and I really struggle with reading physically, so I've been doing that with this, and it's going well, so that's awesome. And like, it was so funny with the sentient motorcycles. Like, one of them had to go to the hospital, and the doctor was like, you know, plenty of rest, and, you know, feed her lots of oil and make sure her tires are inflated. It was funny, like the way that, you know, the author would put in things like that. Like, that was just interesting and fun. Oh, we also had another name. We had Gobby, and basically also like everyone's female except Snape. Yeah, Snape has been the only male character so far. And the sheriff, but the sheriff was only in there for a scene. But yeah, everyone else is female, so any of the other characters that are a parody of the other characters, they're all females. I'm having a strangely good time. Like, this is not going to get a 5-star. Like, I cannot give it a 5-star because the writing is not great, but like, I'm having a good time.
They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless.
Up on Paige's birthday sprints. They were amazing. I got so much done, but that is not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is Bitter. I started this today during the sprints. I only got to page 54, but I'm already in love. So this is Bitter by Akwaeke Emezi. This is the prequel to Pet. Even after 54 pages, I'm already in love with it. Bitter is such a interesting character. She's really been through some stuff, and I don't even know what those stuff are yet. I just know that she's been through it, and she's very strong about it all. She really cares about her friends, but she has a lot of stress and anxiety, and she tries and covers it with like a really strong facade. But she's an amazing character so far. I'm really interested in what happened to her when she was younger, and I know it's going to destroy me because that's what Akwaeke Emezi is really good at, is just writing very realistic trauma that people go through and writing it in a really compelling way. And like, I know Bitter's been through some stuff, so I just need to prepare myself for it. But yes, so far this is great. It's following Bitter when she's like a teenager-ish. I'm confused if she's like, because she's at this particular school that seems like it's more focused on like the arts. So I'm trying to figure out if it's high school or like a university, college level. I'm not sure. But she's doing that. She's met Aloe, starting a little cute romance. But there is her ability to bring paintings to life that I'm really, really interested in. And she's just discovered, but she hasn't really questioned it yet. And I'm like, I want answers. I'm a person that likes details. Give me the details of why she can do this. But anyways, battery is flashing. So 54 pages and I'm enjoying this thoroughly. Okay, so I finished Bitter. Did not take me long to read at all. And honestly, I think Akwaeke Emezi should become one of my favourite authors, because everything that I've read of theirs so far has been amazing. I haven't put this through core pile yet, but I will in a minute. This is such a powerful story, and like, knowing that this was written during the time of COVID, you really see that, because this book is a lot about protests and the injustices that the Black community was facing at the time of COVID. They're always facing injustices, which is fucking awful. But it was really prevalent in COVID, and there were a lot of protests happening during those early months of COVID. And this is a lot of protest things, and it's really hard hitting. But something I found really interesting in this was that Bitter herself is so worried about protesting. Like, she knows that what is being done to the Black community is wrong, and she wants it to stop, but she can't be a part of the protests. It terrifies her to be on the front lines, as they say. All she wants to do is just be safe, to the point where like she has panic attacks about the thought of going on the front lines. And she's so worried for all of her friends that are in these protests, because people are dying at the protests. You know, it's a really dangerous thing to do. She's scared because she doesn't have hope that things will change, and that's probably one of the most devastating parts of this book. Like, that's hard, to just not have any hope for the future. It's very sad. I liked what we got about Bitter's abilities with the whole bringing artistic things to life and getting to kind of see what those things mean and what Bitter is. And there are still things that are like left unsaid, but that's fine, because you didn't need them to be answered. The story wasn't about the fact that Bitter could bring some of her art to life. It wasn't about that. It was about knowing when to stand up and knowing what is right. Right for you, right for the community, right in general. Following your heart, whether that means taking you to the front lines or if that means staying behind. Both are very valid points to take. Like, anytime I read an Akwaeke Emezi book, my brain is like, it's like it's taken out of my body. And I can't think coherently because I'm so in whatever world they have created. Because their writing is just that powerful. I'm going to put this through Corpile right now and we'll see what it comes out as. Because I'm honestly not sure. Because I'm still just so brainless at this point. Okay, so characters. So we have Bitter, who was complex, very realistic. I really loved delving into all of her fears about things. I thought that was really great. Aloe, who's her boyfriend. I really enjoyed the cute little romance, but it was still a hard romance for them because of everything that was going on. We had the whole Asada kids, who were the protesters, and some of them were really great. And we got the eucalyptus kids, who were the artists. They were really great. So I liked the characters. I think I'm gonna give the characters an 8 because they were very good. I'm not deeply attached to them. Like, I'm attached, but I'm not this isn't Wolfsong, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Atmosphere. Oh, Atmosphere's getting a 10. It's Akwaeke Emezi. I am just, if I'm so in that world, even after a couple hours after finishing this, Atmosphere gets a 10. It was phenomenal. Writing. I mean, I want to also give it a 10. I'm going to give it a 10. It's Akwaeke Emezi. They're amazing. Plot. The plot was... It was good. It all flowed well. I think I'm going to give plot a 7.5 because it was good, but there were some moments where it just felt like nothing was happening. Intrigue. I mean, I read this in 2 days. The intrigue is going to get a 9 because I was definitely interested to figure out what was going, and I was interested in the characters so much that I wanted to know what they were going to do. I'm going to give logic an 8.5 because it did make sense. I still have questions, but that's fine. So things made enough sense that nothing felt too outrageous. How do I even characterize my enjoyment? I gave it 10 for enjoyment, and that gave us a 5-star. So, Bitter gets 5 stars from me. It's amazing. If you haven't read an Akwaeke Emezi, this is your bulletin board message saying, go do it. Akwaeke Emezi is now one of my favourite authors. So, the vlog is now over. It might not be as fleshed out as I kind of wanted to. As I said in some of my TBR games, February is a really busy month for me. And I haven't got as much reading done as I wanted to. These are all the books that I wanted to read. I didn't read all of them. Clearly, if you've made it this far into the video, you know I didn't read all of these. I didn't get to this one, and I'm not going to be able to get to it before the month is over. I already have a couple other physical reads that I needed to prioritize, so this one has just fallen by the wayside. But I will read this year. And then the other one I didn't get to in this vlog, which I might still try and complete, is Juliet Takes a Breath. I do have the audio for this, and I do still have time to read this before the end of the month. But the thing is, when you're seeing this, I have been camping for 6 days-ish. So this video and my previous video, which was the scavenger hunt, they had to be pre-filmed and scheduled so that they would go out when I wanted them to be posted. So I've basically lost an entire week of this vlog. Whenever I go camping with my family, I disconnect from the outside world. I don't use any internet. I don't take my computer. I don't turn on my mobile data. I just leave everything and just enjoy disconnecting. That's a whole week where I couldn't read a book. So I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get to this. The books I did manage to complete in this vlog were these two, Bitter and Harriet Porber. I'm not going to say the rest of this title, it's too long. So this is hilarious. I had such a fun time reading this. And like, do you see my tabs? There's a lot of them. Some of the tabs are just because something was funny. Some of them are because it was interesting world building, surprisingly. Some was just for like, so one of the characters, he has meta magic. So he's constantly like, he's like, I guess what I'm saying is, while romance novels tend to peddle the idea that toxic bad boys can change, in reality, you probably want to avoid someone like me. I'd be a shitty boyfriend and a shitty professor. So a lot of that was happening, which is hilarious, and I loved it. And there's this character right here. His name is Bumblebore or something like that. Bumbledore, you know, all the names are kind of like that. When he first appears on page, out of nowhere, he just goes, I'm gay. And then Harriet's like, good? Yay? And he's like, oh, I just want to establish that from the get-go instead of implying it outside of the book several years later. And I was like, oh my god. It was so funny. That just was so good. It was hilarious. I loved it. And we have two trans main characters here. Sure, one of them's a dinosaur, but you know, it's Chuck Tingle. Of course there's going to be a dinosaur in it. Like, have you seen his other books? I did really love that we have two trans main characters. I'm gonna be a little salty here. While it's absolutely amazing to have two trans main characters, there were a couple of scenes in here of our two main characters having a conversation with each other of like, this particular body part is this for me, don't call it that, call it this. That was so important and it was brilliant and I loved it. But you could also tell this wasn't written by a trans person. It's just those thoughts in your head that are constantly with you when you're trans, and like just a lot of things to do with gender, and no matter how comfortable you are and you know how level your gender dysphoria is, there's always going to be these little moments in the back of your mind that just like twigs something, a gender thing, and you just notice something. It's really, really hard to explain if you're not trans, but those kind of nuances were missing in this, which is probably like my only drawback, because I had a fantastic time. It was hilarious. I loved reading it, and it healed the wound that particular author put into my heart. So I really appreciated that. It was hilarious. Like, if you have the means to read this, do it just for the entertainment value. It's so good. I think I ended up giving this 3 stars because while it was fun, there was no depth to any of the story. It was really just a parody book and it was fun. Like, it's not the greatest novel I've ever read. Speaking of the greatest novel I've ever read, Akwaeke Emezi could forever be considered an author of the greatest novels ever. Their ability to create really complex characters and rich environments and just this beautiful storytelling, like, there is no comparison. They're amazing. There is no better than Akwaeke Emezi. It's amazing. I gave this 5 stars. It is fantastic. I loved the conversations of Bitter's fears and exploring that, because it's like, yeah, protesting things, while absolutely amazing and necessary, is terrifying. I love that we got 2 black queer main characters that were in a relationship with each other. It was a male-female pairing, but they were both queer, and I was like, yes, you know, that is such important representation. I am a little annoyed that I didn't get the detail that I wanted about why bitter can make these monsters come to life, but at the same time I'm also fine with it because Akwaeke Emezi is just that good that like I don't need the details because I was just so enthralled with the whole story. So I got half of my goal done. If I'd had another week I probably could have got a third book in there, but 'tis what it is. So I've got 10 books left for the next 10 months of the year. I think I can do it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!